Okay, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Skills Not Pills. I am so excited to have Harriet Cabelly with us. Welcome,
Hi,
Harriet.
I'm excited too because it's my first time doing face streaming live.
Face streaming live.
Facebook live, whatever you call it.
Facebooking live. Just going to share this out. And so, I'm so excited to have you with us. Skills Not Pills movement has launched, and we are underway with our promotional window of time and just letting everybody know about what we're trying to do here. And I know that you also have a very special passion for this project, which is why you're on board.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your background so that people know who you are, what you do in the world, and then we'll get started with that.
Okay, what I do in the world. I'm an empty nester and a proud grandma. That's
pretty awesome.
That's my personal doings in the world. My professional doings, which is work that I truly love. And what do they say? They say when you do work you love, then it's not really considered work. Is I am a social worker and a positive psychology coach. And since I left the Board of Ed about 6 years ago, that little word retired, but I don't really use it because it connotes sitting around for me doing nothing. And I've done everything but. I mean, I am more busy now than I ever was when I had a regular job. I have my own practice. I do a lot of workshops and groups and book clubs, and I put out a book about 6 months ago, so I've been doing lots of book talks and podcasts. So my life is really filled with work that I truly love, and I feel very grateful to have the balance between working in the area that I love and my special time with grandkitties.
You have a really interesting story because you were really fascinated with inner resilience and, how do people face these like incredible challenges in their lives and pull through it? It's like you've been fascinated by this. Tell us a little bit about that project for you.
So I've been fascinated by it since I'm a teenager. And I don't really know where it came from, but I was always fascinated with this idea of how some people can really thrive and live well through their horrible situations. I mean, I had some situations when I was a teenager that I became observant of and reflected on and thought a lot about that. And then when I had my own personal, shall we call it an adversity, that's the way I saw it at the time, when my middle daughter was born with disabilities. To me, that then was, I considered that a loss and an adversity, because we all expect that normal, perfect child to be born. And when you get someone that is unexpected with a completely unexpected diagnosis, it really does shatter your world. So that became my thing, shall I say, and I went on to for therapy, and it helped me a lot rebuild my life. And then fast forward, she ended up having a medical crisis when she was 18. She miraculously survived. And then when she came through that, but I say me because as a mother, I feel like I got my second lease on life through her miraculous survival and full recovery. I wanted to do something with it. To honor, so to speak, the miracle. It didn't feel right just picking up the pieces where I left off and just resuming my life. So I was kind of in angst about it, and I tried all kinds of different things like puppy raising for an organization that gives out service dogs for the disabled. And our doggy won and passed his test, so he went on to live with a little boy with cerebral palsy. I did a Patch Adams clowning trip. I mean, I was really looking for those meaningful things that could, I don't know, do something and a test for making a difference bigger than what I had been doing in my life, again, in honor of this miracle. And then I figured I wanted to, well, I didn't figure, but I thought to myself, since I love reading, I would like to attempt a memoir. And I did, and it didn't go anyplace, and it didn't get picked up, and it failed, and blah, blah, blah. And then I said, I'm going to try a blog. So because of my theme, going back to when I was a teenager, of how do people do well despite, how does that happen? It seems so incredibly inspiring to me. So I decided I'm going to do my own blog project, and I'm going to take on interviewing someone once a month who has been able to, as I like to call it, successfully overcome their challenges. So for 3 years, I did an interview a month, and I compiled 36 interviews on my blog of people who have been able to deal, and not just deal, but grow through their loss and rebuild their lives. And then people started telling me, why is it on your blog? Compile it into a book. And that's what I did. So it came out in August, and it's self-published. And so the beauty for me, and that's a very meaningful project, is that everything came like together. My longtime interest in this theme, I call it the theme of my life, together with doing something special out of my daughter's miracle in the hopes of, helping others, inspiring others that there's always hope. And it just all came together, and it just felt and feels so right.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing, right? When we can really spread the message about how we can grow through our challenges,
Yes.
And not get stuck.
Absolutely.
Not get stuck by them, not get identifying with them, as that's who we are and we can't ever change. And as you know, that definitely was part of my journey was, and I think with the diagnoses and things that it can kind of stick people in that idea that they're always going to be a certain way. But to tell us, when you did this project, what were some of the common themes that you noticed? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it bleeped out for a long time.
Oh, it bleeped out. Oh, oops. Okay. So tell me, when you worked on this project, what were some of the common themes that you noticed?
Okay, so you mentioned at the beginning about resilience. That's a really hot topic nowadays. We know there's tons of research on resilience, and really that's a huge thread and theme throughout the book, is not so much what we're born with. Because you know how people always say, oh, you're just naturally strong, or you're naturally more resilient than others. I don't mean me personally, but in general. And what research is showing is that it's really a skill set. Resiliency can be taught, can be learned, and they're bringing in certain curriculums into the public schools now across the country, certainly in the New York area that I know of, and in California. And it is, along with social emotional development, and that it is something that we can grow like a muscle. So yes, we may start out genetically with either, that half glass more empty or more full. But having said that, that doesn't preclude the fact that we absolutely can raise that bar, can raise that level in that glass, and develop more resiliency, a stronger inner sense, a stronger inner core. And that's a positive thing. That gives us hope. In other words, we're not fixed human beings. We're capable of growth forever, as long as we are on this side of the earth.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the reasons why I've invited so many, like I have 2 neuroscientists as part of this summit, because what neuroscientists understand, because they're on the cutting edge of understanding how our brain works, is that they understand that we're actually wired for evolution. We're wired to change. And our brains give us that capability. Our brains, our natural neuroplasticity in our brains means that we can change and we can grow, and we can actually just become an entirely new person within a relatively short period of time if we know how it works, if we understand the mechanics of our brain and how our brain works, and if we can cultivate awareness, which is something I learned from the 4 agreements and my work with my mentor who studied with Don Miguel Ruiz, is all about awareness and not identifying as the current circumstance, right?
Right.
It's just the current circumstance. It's not who you are.
Right. It's because if you maintain that, then you set yourself up for victimhood. If you feel like this is who I am, that's it, I can't help it, this is how I was born, this is my genetic makeup, then we kind of maintain the status quo, and we get fixed in, well, if something bad happens, in that victimhood of, woe is me, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm sure you've heard of Carol Dweck, psychologist out of California, who wrote this book, Mindset, and did tons of research on the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset, and how the growth mindset is what neuroscientists are now studying in the brain, that says that we come in predisposed, yes, but there is so much that we can do. And if we buy into the theory of a growth mindset, then the sky is the limit. again, it's that unlimited potential that we all have. It's not just a fixed number, as years ago and decades ago, they thought, well, that's your IQ, that's it. The growth mindset says, yes, we have strengths and we have weaknesses, absolutely. But and it's interesting because I like to put that word yet. I haven't, it's almost like saying I haven't learned it yet. Not that I am incapable of ever learning it. I haven't learned it yet. Listen, I have a weak spot with technology. That's not a strong point. So every time I accomplish a small feat in my technological world with the help of a granddaughter who probably knows more than I do because they're born into this language, I feel very proud of myself. Again, so I can learn. We can all learn. We're not just stuck. And as Tony Robbins likes to say, and I love him, we don't have to live in our past. We don't have to have our past define us in terms of our present, and certainly not in terms of our future. Our past happened. There's a lot of reasons. We could figure it out. We could look into it, but it need not be set in stone as to the trajectory of the rest of our lives. And that's, again, that hopefulness.
That hopefulness, which is why, I really advocate. This is why this message came in really strongly through me. Skills, not pills. Because in my journey, what I realized is that it was the skills development that really helped me to transform my brain, which was hardwired. I just actually saw this research on the ACEs, the adverse child events. Well, it's like this thing now. You can like take the survey and find out, what's your ACEs score, and and mine's like high. Mine's like a 7, which is super high. That's because I had a lot of adverse childhood experiences. My parents got divorced, that's one of them. Your parent was depressed or anxious. That's another one. Your parent was drinking in a house or something. So there's like a series of them. And guess what, people? Like, how many people in our culture are a product of divorce, right? So yeah. So we're kind of like, it gives you this different perspective, at least for me, of like really seeing like culturally, where are we as a society where we have like a good percentage of our population with 0 to 5 or 0 to 7 having like adverse childhood experiences. And then we're like kind of trying to like deal with it by well, just give me something so I don't feel the pain, or just give me something so I don't have to grow. And the thing is that actually through the difficulty, through that perseverance, and then also but learning new skills, right? So if the skills you have aren't working, then learn some new ones, like get a bigger toolbox. And and I think that our system has kind of said, well, because we just don't have time to delve into this really complicated thing we don't understand called the human subconscious, then we're just going to give you a pill to make the symptoms go away so you can cope with your life just as it is. When really what needs to happen is we need to change the whole thing. Like the foundation, if the foundation of the building is rotten, we got to build a new foundation.
Right.
And that takes work. And I'm talking about the inner foundation.
Right.
And it takes work. And actually, guess what, people? It takes less work to build the inner foundation, just to focus on it and realize you need to do it and just do it, than it does to like resist it and talk about it and complain about it for decades and take a pill.
Exactly. But the pill is the quick fix. And that's
but not really. It's
right. But that's what our society has bought into, the quick fix. In fact, that's what drew me to you and to your movement is the title, Skills Not Pills. I love it. I mean, I think it's great, and it's so antithetical to what's out there in our world today, which is that quick fix. And for every little thing, it used to be that only psychiatrists would write prescriptions for anti-anxiety and antidepressants. And nowadays you walk into any doctor at all, and your nose your nose itches, or your best friend moved away and you're sad, and okay, you're walking out with a prescription. Not to say that there aren't some people who obviously need it.
Yeah, like, I mean, Harriet, when I was, and I want to say this, because we're not pill shaming. Let me just say that. We are not, this is not about pill shaming. I took them for 13 years, and why did I get on them? Because I had a lifetime of psychotherapy, then I had my baby, and all my childhood stuff came up. and I had intense postpartum depression, and I was seeing a hole in the middle of my bathroom floor, like in my shower. There was a black hole, and I thought I was going to fall into it. And I was sober. I wasn't on drugs or anything. And I'm looking down and I'm like, oh my God, there's a hole in the shower. Yeah. That's scary. You know, I was wanting to jerk the wheel on the freeway. That's scary as a young mother. So I needed a quick fix so that I wouldn't like just, you know, destroy myself and my children, right? I needed that. Right. So I'm not ever going to say that there's not a place for it. But what I'm going to say is it's not a long-term solution. And I think the place that our framework around psychology has kind of not quite gotten to the right place yet is that it's just funneling through this one pathway that isn't working. It's not healing it. It's not curing it. Right. It's only like saying here, you know, here's this quick fix. And then there's like, just keep doing that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like,
and the other really dangerous thing that I feel is that we're not teaching our kids coping skills.
Yes.
So when we're raising kids without coping skills because of that quick fix, so to speak, which is rampant for all kids now with ADD and any other alphabet thing that they have, again, not saying some don't really need it, but we also have got to begin to emphasize skill building and coping skills and like you said before, building ourselves up from the inside out, strengthening ourselves from the inside out. And how do we do that? We do that by developing social emotional awareness, by developing resiliency and coping skills, things like gratitude. How do we deal when things go wrong? Is it okay to feel bad? Yes, it's okay to grieve. Yes, it's okay to feel sad. There's a place for that. I mean, Brene Brown has a beautiful quote. I don't have it in front of me, but it's something like, when our child feels sad, what's the best thing we can do for them?
Comfort them.
Sit with them, hold them, and just be there.
Hold them and
not
love them.
Right away say, here, let me cut you a half a pill and it will make you feel better.
Or saying like, stop being sad or don't cry.
Right.
No, it's like, can you just quietly, compassionately witness your child being upset?
Right. And that it's
not try
okay
to fix it.
Right. But the reason is, and understandably so, certainly in terms of this parent-child relationship, is that as parents, it hurts us to see our children in distress. So we want to make it better. We want to fix it. We want to put that Band-Aid on. Unfortunately, when we keep putting on emotional Band-Aids, we're not giving them the tools. And then as you know what happens when adults grow up and they have a rough day. Right away, it's, let me numb it with some drinks.
Give me a bottle of wine.
Give me the bottle. Give me the drugs. Give me the this. I mean, it's rampant, and it's only getting worse. As we know, the opiate crisis, I mean, it's really getting worse. There's a sense of emptiness in our souls.
Yeah, and what really struck me, actually, because you were a person who shared this story with me, and I think that I must be super naive, because you told me about how you actually know some people who, when their child or their teenager is getting ready to take a test or is anxious or something, that it's actually a solution to give them a Xanax.
Yeah. Because they got to deal with the test. So we don't have any long-term, we can't wait too long to calm them down. So just get in there, get calm so you can study for your test. But again, that's for the crisis moment. But how about throughout teaching relaxation, teaching what do we do when we're feeling stressed? I mean, there's got to be a place and a curriculum and an intentional purpose around building those skills.
And I really I'm very pleased because I'm hearing about more and more schools that are adopting mindfulness training and how to look within for the answer, to think and feel about this and how are you feeling and what's a distraction. I mean, just take ADHD, for example, totally overdiagnosed. And that's something that Dr. Nikisha Hammett is actually addressing for our summit, is this ADHD and how we just keep diagnosing kids, with this and then prescribing medication when there's a whole lot of other things that could be affecting the diet, your nutrition, what the kids are eating. The school lunches are atrocious.
Right.
And also the classroom, some kids just don't learn that well with all of that distraction going on. They need to learn how to focus their brain in to the task at hand.
Right.
And, you know, if they're, you know, what about skills for managing that? Like, how are we teaching them that? So
And even more so with all the technology and the screens
yeah,
that
because we're
everybody,
just, look how distracted we are.
right. It's compounding more and more with the technological advances that people are in face to face and everyone's looking down texting. And so when you go into that quiet space, whether you want to say meditation, some people I know get scared of that term, just say sitting quietly, shutting your eyes or lowering them. And it brings you back and it takes you out of that distraction zone. We're all on high energy distraction. I mean, this is just our world.
It's a bunch of reaction, you know, is what I'm seeing. It's like react, 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 react.
Right.
And really what it is you can actually learn how your brain works. Like you can learn the different parts of your brain. Like our neuroscientists are going to be teaching us about the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, you know, those survival brains. And you can learn how to shift out of that brain and into the frontal cortex brain, which is the higher reasoning brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a gap in response. When you get to the frontal cortex brain, now you're not, it's like stimulus. Normally it's like stimulus response,
Mm-hmm.
stimulus response,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and usually like not a really good one, right? Like the one we wish we hadn't done.
Because it's a reaction as
Because
opposed
it's
to
a reaction.
response.
Yeah.
Right.
And believe me, I've had a lifetime of this because really look at the research. The ACEs research will show you when your brain is growing and there's childhood stress, your brain is being formed into that pattern. And so now, is it going to be stuck there forever? I don't believe that, because I know through my personal experience of learning how to use my brain's neuroplasticity to heal, that you can actually transition your brain into new neural pathways
Mm-hmm.
that give you that gap so that you don't react anymore the way you used to. And it's an evolution. It's a skill, just like Harriet's talking about. It's a resilience skill.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And because, you know, just getting back to the brain a second, we're very programmed as human beings, just in the evolutionary times of that fight or flight response. You know, when we had to step into gear when that saber-toothed tiger was coming. And we need that. We need that type of stress to get us going. There is such a thing as positive stress. It motivates us. It moves us along. But we are on constant alert. So that we sit in traffic, we're on alert. Our body's tense. We don't even realize our bodies are tensing until we take a breath and lower our shoulders. And then we realize, oh, they must have been in that upward position, because then when we drop them, it's like, So we are constantly in that high alert level of stress due to ordinary things, not due to that saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, just normal living environment. And
right.
People,
and we don't realize it.
If you start tuning in to the number of times that you hold your breath and stop breathing, you'll be astounded.
That's funny.
And if you don't breathe, you're depriving your body of air, which it needs to survive. And in fact, creating a survival problem. And your body's going to automatically go into stress when it can't get air.
Right. So and that's why deep breathing or belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing like babies do is what we need to do on a daily basis as a relaxation exercise. In fact, before I meditate, I always do some deep breathing. And Dr. Oz says it should take 5 minutes to take 10 deep breaths. That's a long time. That means you're really inhaling and exhaling at a very slow rate to really oxygenate the body. And we need to be doing that on a daily basis, even sitting at red lights. And that definitely takes away immediately some of that tension in our body. And B, it brings more oxygen and is a calming thing to do for it, just an immediate, like a quick thing for a few deep breaths.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you can tell, everybody, I mean, Harriet is a firecracker and has got so much passion and so much wisdom to share. And I'm so delighted. I'm really glad that you said yes. And I'm so glad I got connected with you through. Now that was Mark's, what's the name of the podcast? The Strength through Struggle.
Strength Through the Struggle, Mark
Mark
Goblowski.
Goblowski. And
His
so
podcast.
go check out Mark Goblowski and Strength Through the Struggle, because he's got some great interviews on his podcast with a lot of people who have survived a lot of really stressful things. And
Right.
so check out his great stories up there on his podcast. I should be up there soon.
You're right, I just got up there.
Okay. Anyway, so, and definitely tune into Skills Not Pills movement. If you haven't yet signed up, I invite you to sign up at skillsnotpillsmovement.com, because there'll be a full interview with Harriet. You can already see she's just busting with the scenes with lots of wisdom to share from her own life experience and from the work she does with clients. Really valuable stuff, and she's got some really great skills to share with you and some good stories. So please sign up and share this out with your friends. You know, if you found this useful, please feel free to share it anywhere you like and with anyone you like, and invite people to come along on this journey. Again, this is not about shaming people taking pills. We have total compassion, you know, for how people have gotten into that place. And if we want something different, we got to start disturbing the energy and inviting people to a new perspective, right? Which is what we're doing here.
Absolutely. Well
Awesome.
Said. Well said, Kerri.
Thank you so much, Harriet. And I look forward to continuing our journey together on the Skills Not Pills movement. This is a movement. It's not just a summit. It's a whole movement. So there's going to be more coming from Harriet beyond the movement, beyond the summit, which opens the movement. So be looking for that. And, you know, once again, sign up and join us.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Harriet. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.